You know what's a great experience for an academic writer? Being able to work in the flow, where you're in that continuous stream of action. You lose track of time and you're totally immersed in what you're doing. But that experience of flow can be quite elusive. So this week in our co-working community, the Academic Writer Space, our theme for the week is flow. Now, flow is something that cannot be forced. Many people have said to me over the years, I just can't seem to find my flow, and they're really frustrated. Even though you cannot force it, there are things that you can do to create conditions in which flow is more likely to occur. And for flow to be present, we need there to be some kind of structure, like discipline, a plan. We need to know where we're directing our attention and actually have a commitment to action for flow to take place. At the same time, we also need to surrender, to let go, to relax, so that we're not over-engaged. But we need to take action so that we're not under-engaged. Flow in a lot of ways is kind of like finding balance. It's always changing, it's dynamic. So if you want to increase the odds this week that you experience flow, here are some things that you can do. First of all, have a plan. Have a really clear plan written down with very specific actions for you to take, no matter how small. It makes a huge difference if you know where you're planning to direct your attention and where you're not directing your attention. Otherwise, it's really difficult to get into a flow state. By the way, this is the wind here in Kauai, so I know I look like I'm standing behind a giant fan, but I'm actually just at the ocean. In addition, you really want to set up your physical environment. Your physical environment. Do you have the materials, digital and paper materials, books, articles, pens, paper? Do you have the things that you're going to need to sit down and focus and concentrate and work? If that stuff isn't there, it's going to be harder to get into a flow state. Make sure you minimize distractions. Put your phone in a different room. Turn off sounds and notifications that pull your attention away from that continuous stream that you want to be in. And practice monotasking. Practice doing one thing at a time. See what happens when you engage fully around one activity where you're surrendering your attention over to only one thing at a time. It can make a huge difference, honestly, in your productivity and the quality of your life if you just learn to monotask. When we multitask chronically, we move ourselves away from a flow state. Learn to let go of writing perfect sentences. Perfectionism and flow states are not compatible. If you want to get into a flow with your writing, get in touch with the ideas you're trying to communicate to the writer. Communicate them in the form they're bubbling up for you in the moment and keep going. Don't pause and fuss over sentences and try to make them perfect. Don't worry about what the person who reads it is going to think right now. Remember, I always tell you, you cannot bake a cake and frost it at the same time. Writing occurs in layers. It's an iterative process over time. And if you embrace that and you allow it to be, you're going to have a much better experience with writing and experience a lot more flow. I want you to pay attention to something really important when it comes to flow. In any given moment, the version of you who has shown up in that moment, that version of you is either compatible with flow or it's incompatible. It's probably more of a continuum. So you want to be able to notice, am I more compatible or less compatible with flow? If you're not compatible with flow, nothing's wrong. That happens to everybody. But it is an important data point to notice, oh, I'm not in a state right now that's actually conducive to flow. All right, so what are my options? One thing that we often need when we're not in a state conducive to flow is to actually clean up our desk and our environment and get a really clear plan, and also to soothe our nervous system, to soften in some way inside. Hand over heart. How can you care for yourself? How can you soothe yourself? Help yourself regulate, help yourself feel safer, help yourself feel less stressed. It's so difficult to get into a flow state when we're dysregulated, when we're feeling unsafe, when we're hypervigilant and our attention is more divided. So ongoingly caring for yourself, resting and soothing yourself is fertilizing the ground for you to be more likely to move into a flow state. And finally this week, pay attention to your pace. sometimes what happens is we're moving too quickly to be able to catch sort of the river of flow, and sometimes we're moving too slowly. So flow requires us to be engaged, but not over-engaged. It requires us to be relaxed, but not under-engaged. All right, I am looking forward to co-working with all of you. I'll be co-working with you from Kauai. Please come and co-work with us. If you have not experienced the academic writer space, we offer 24 two-hour live co-working sessions over Zoom every single week. And as many people in our community have told me, it is a game changer for people who want to be consistently productive and who want to experience a sense of well-being along their academic journey. All right, everybody, see you on Zoom. Have a great week.